It's time now for the Sports Objective Podcast. No talking heads, just guys who love sports. Here's Dave Richmond.
Welcome into the Sports Objective Podcast. It's hard to believe that the week is rolling on in the middle of the week. It's Hump Day, and joining me now, one of my best friends and a brother from a different mother, and he definitely is a heel, I think, in his past for his pro wrestling. That's Kyle from LaGrange Barber. What's up, man?
Heel, you refer to pro wrestling because in no terms have I ever been a heel as in a car heel. So.
No. I was talking about pro wrestling. Absolutely, I think that you
heel.
I think you would be a better. I think you'd make a better heel than a babyface.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think I'm more naturally a heel. So.
Just the way when you cut promos, I just can't. Maybe you could. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway,
I could be a babyface.
Yeah, you could.
That would be what's referred to as a character babyface.
Okay. Yeah, I can buy that. Hey, by the way, before we talk about the Pirates, Kyle and I, for people that don't know, if you haven't listened to the podcast very much, we're Retro Gamers. Today, as we record this podcast, August 14th is the anniversary of the Sega Genesis coming out. And by the way, folks, next month, I know I'm a nerd, September the 19th, my Sega Genesis Mini's coming out, $79.99. I've got to get they're pre-ordering at like Amazon, at Walmart, and I know at also at GameStop and other places.
This one Sega's actually making.
They made it, yes.
Yeah, they came out with ones previously made by Out Games that quality-wise with the emulation wasn't too stellar. So Sega actually hands-on with this one. Should be pretty good. I have an original Sega Genesis with a pretty large collection of games, so I won't need to get that snoot. But
$79.99. It's a good price point.
Yeah, no,
41
it
games.
Is do what else?
41 games.
Yeah, I think that's a little low on the game side, in my opinion. I think put a few more on that. But anyway, I got all my damn old games. I got my Atari collection, my NES collection, my Genesis collection.
Right.
I have all that stuff. I never play any of it. I go through phases where I don't care about playing anything, and I haven't played a game since maybe January or February. I just haven't cared about it. But I still have it all, still have my collection. And one time I had a television, ColecoVision, Jaguar. My collection used to be even bigger, but I sold a lot of it off. But, a lot of people are wondering right about now why the hell we're talking about video games on the Sports Objective.
All right, I know. I just want to mention
why? Because Bubba's not on the line.
Yeah, there's no Bubba. What happened to Bubba? Anybody seen Bubba? Hey, Bubba.
I think Bubba.
There's a new video game. It's called Where's Bubba?
The school year has started back for Mr. Rosenbaum, and his
too
sleep
late.
schedule is out of whack.
Yeah.
He's still on his summer sleep schedule. It ain't just kids to get their sleep out of whack.
No, it's teachers too.
Summertime, teachers too, and it's going to take him a couple of weeks to get back to his normal schedule.
Sounds good. And while we have a chance, I'll tell you what, I thought about you and Bubba today. I was out at practice, and I say it all the time, but it's really true, man. We are lucky, fortunate, and blessed to have Mike Houston as the football coach. And everybody says, Dave, that's so easy to say. But I mentioned this to one of our guests, by the way, is Brian Bailey from 9 on Your Side. He's going to be with us. And also, we're talking to Dana Schrenk, Dana's Global Travel, as we have our cruise we've been talking about. We'll talk to her in a little while. But I was talking to Brian today, but even the media, everybody is a lot looser and happier now compared to the last few years.
Well, and it ain't just Mike Houston, it's everybody, man. I mean, you got John Gilbert instead of Comfer. You have no more Central State. So it's just the whole vibe over there is different. Ryan Robinson versus Shelley Denninger. I mean, it's just
not even close. We love Ryan, friend of the podcast.
It's nowhere near close.
The guy that worked in the Jacksonville Jaguars versus. Anyway, never mind.
Yeah.
So that's too easy.
It's a much better. We should ask David the other day, Gerard, about if he knew old Double R there.
He does. Actually, he does.
Yeah. Missed question. But anyway, yeah. No. Obviously, Mike Hughes is a hell of a football coach. done a great job everywhere he's been, and we're lucky to have him in East Carolina. It was a great hire, put together a great staff. And, it's a huge improvement over County Montgomery. And I can't wait for the season to start and see the results. It's not going to happen overnight. Everybody needs to keep that in mind. Don't expect miracles. If we win 7 or 8 games this year, which I don't see that happening, then fantastic. But look, if we see improvement, not only on the field performance in terms of being competitive, but in the win-loss column, even if it's like 5 and 7, no, it's coming. It's coming. He's going to get it done. The way he's recruiting, we had a commitment tonight, a defensive lineman from South Carolina who had an offer from South Carolina. He had an offer from Syracuse. Was being recruited by Michigan.
There you go.
Get a D lineman with an offer from an SEC school. He's got to sign and he's got to qualify, but he's committed right now. Huge pickup. And we're doing a hell of a job recruiting in South Carolina, by the way.
Yeah, what's great is the fact that you got to protect your territory, meaning the 252. And Schrenk, by the way, has one of the things I've been talking about is not only the 252 being in eastern North Carolina, I-95, if you will, North Carolina, but that 757, Kyle, as you know, over the years, there's a ton of great football in the Tidewater area and Norfolk and all that. And
you would think with this coaching staff have the Virginia ties being JMU, that they would be getting a lot of big time commitments from that area. It's funny that we're recruiting South Carolina so well. Now, granted, Coach Houston coached at the Citadel,
right? But
we're doing really well down there for whatever reason.
It looks like there's a handful of states plus. One of the things we talked about with Scott Harley, we talked about that Northeast
New Jersey area.
New Jersey. You look at New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, that area. There's a lot of Rust Belt states, if you will. That there's a lot of good football. So when people think that I'm just, Dave, you're just Eastern North Carolina, it's not that. What I'm saying is, like an all-star team from the East as far as the best of the East. And then
you want to keep your local talent at home. You want to keep your best players here. And, that's key. You don't want to lose a kid from Williamston or Greenville or Kinston or Jacksonville or wherever, Wilson, Goldsboro, and see him go somewhere else and go, damn, he could have been a Pirate.
Right. You look at a kid like, I'll tell you a perfect example. By the way, I want to mention to you, one of my favorite players in this class this year is Travion Freshwater. Very happy to hear Coach Houston yesterday say at practice. We hadn't had a chance to talk about that. He is doing the academic red shirt. Very happy about that. That is great for you and I bust on the NCAA all the time, and rightfully so, and they deserve everything we give them. But this whole rule now, the academic red shirt, is brilliant.
Yeah.
A kid like
if you can qualify for it cuts out junior college.
Right.
And the problem with junior college is that recruitment gets up and back up. And a lot of times the kid ends up never coming to your school. He goes somewhere else.
Right. They can go.
I think more times than not. And so that's why that's huge. It keeps the kid from having to go to junior college. He's here on campus, practicing with the team. He's a student here. He's 100% a part of the football team. And he may have been redshirted anyway. Now, the only difference is he can't play in the 4 games like other freshmen that are being redshirted.
Right.
But, at least he's here and he's in school and he's part of the team.
Right, and he'll be ready for the great news is that another thing, it's not like a stupid rule, which is not. It's not like he loses a year. You know what I mean?
No,
It's not like it's something stupid like that.
No, it's like a regular redshirt year. He's it's for academic purposes, and
it's a good thing.
And that's what he'll concentrate on this year is learning how to be a student at the college level.
Not only that, but like you said, practicing with the team. You got Big John Williams. Oh my God, in the weight room. I'm a huge fan of Travion. I think he's got the potential if he can stay academically eligible and all that stuff and keep his head straight. Obviously, I don't think there'll be any off the field problems, but he has a chance to play at the next level. I really believe he has raw talent to be an NFL star, but obviously you got to be in college first. So that I just wanted to mention that. I thought that was fantastic. I know that you heard our good friend Troy Dreyfus, Pirate Radio Live this afternoon with John Gilbert And did you want to talk about some of the things that our great AD was talking about on the show today?
Yeah, you hate to steal content from other people's platforms, but whatever. John Gilbert, I thought it was one of his best interviews, and we've done interviews with him. And just being honest, he just seemed really comfortable today during that interview. And he's been here a while now, and he's getting ready for the season to start. And so he talked about he kind of hinted, did more than kind of. He really hinted that he in 2023 for the bye game, which I'm not in favor of, but if we're just going to do it one time, it is what it is. That it will be an SEC team and an upper echelon SEC team. He mentioned that the SEC pays the most for bye games, and particularly teams like Alabama and Auburn pay the most for bye games. So you may be seeing us with an Alabama, Auburn, LSU type game in 2023, depending on what we can get.
What kind of what is that, like $2 or $3 million? What do you think they get out of that?
Yeah, well, I would think East Carolina to be an American Conference team. I would think we would want at least two.
Here's what I say to that. You and I both agree on. I like the marquee games, but not at the expense, like we talked about before, of where we're trying to be a power league and then they're paying us money. But I will say this: if we're going to whore things out, let's get top dollar of a. Don't you? I mean, they better not take a low end deal. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're
that's what he was implying. If you're going to do it, I think Alabama. Playing Alabama is so unique right now. If you're going to do it to me,
I know the game you want, and I want that game really bad.
Alabama or either Notre Dame would be who I would do it for. One of those two. Maybe Texas or Oklahoma.
Oklahoma would be cool because Lincoln.
Yeah.
And rough.
But that's about it. Troy suggested Clemson. I am 100% against Clemson, and here's why. They're in the ACC, and if you start down that path, then you're going to have North Carolina, NC State, et cetera, screaming, well, you did a bye game in Clemson. Why should we play you home and home?
Right.
So
and not only that,
that's why you can't do it with an ACC team.
Not only that, but we talked about before about the whole ACC thing. If you look at you made that point, so I'll let you make it about the ACC. We talk about
outside of Clemson, we were talking about UCF.
Yeah.
And actually, that nobody's heard that yet, Dave. That was recorded.
No, I said that I know that.
Yeah. Well, we in the discussion we were talking about UCF not making the playoffs and people referencing their schedule and their conference schedule. Yet nobody ever references Clemson's conference schedule. And if you really compare the American and the ACC, now you take away Clemson because Clemson don't play themselves.
Right.
So when you look at the teams Clemson played in the ACC and you look at the teams UCF played in the American, it's pretty damn even. But obviously Clemson deserved to be in the playoffs. They won the national championship.
They're a great
nobody
team.
Ever made that comment about Clemson's conference schedule. It did UCF, and quite frankly, UCF handled Pittsburgh.
Oh my God! Yeah.
The team Clemson played in the ACC championship game better than Clemson did.
That's
so,
true.
I think,
and there's a lot of marquee teams like Memphis and Houston and UCF. The thing that makes me mad about the whole argument of the American, well, they're just a group of five. But if you look at Temple as another team that, man, they have really, compared to what they used to be, they've really come on strong.
No, the American is a good league, and
Cincinnati is going to be huge this year.
Right, but the point you were trying to make was in relation to scheduling and the bye game. No, Clemson we can't do because they're in the ACC. But some other things Gilbert talked about was beer sales. We're going to have 50 points of purchase at the stadiums for alcohol. It's going to be sold separately from soda and hot dogs and such. And 50 points of purchase does not mean there will be 50 beer stands set up. That means there will be 50 lines.
And that's good.
That's how I understand it anyway.
We don't need Pirate fans mad about not getting their beer.
Right, exactly. Gilbert also mentioned listening to the fans on wanting prices of items dropped. He said we will have a list coming out of the new prices before the first game, and it appears a lot of items, the prices will be coming down on with drinks and sodas and food and such. So that's a real good thing. There was some other good information in the interview, but I don't want to sit here and steal the whole interview. You know, if you want to hear it, go check them out and listen to the interview. But I do think Gilbert had a great interview today with Troy, for what it's worth. It was like I said again, probably the best interview Gilbert's done since he's been here.
And we had that chance. Congratulations to Troy and Jonathan, everybody at Pirate Radio, for now they have the FM translators where you can get Pirate Radio on Greenville and Washington on FM. So congratulations to them. We're really happy for them.
Now you got 94 game and Pirate Radio both on FM. So that's good. To me, the more coverage, the better for the Pirates. That's what we do. We're covering the Pirates. They're covering the Pirates, and you know, more the merrier.
Exactly. You know, you heard me talk about this, but you look at speaking of the American conferences, but you look at the media coverage. The Houston, Cincinnati, Memphis. There are a lot of Philly as far as Temple is concerned. They're pro towns,
right? And
you know, they're lucky to have. I was talking to some other members of the media, and they said, Dave, it's bad. They said, our friend Stephen Igo, I think, as a matter of fact, I was talking to him about it, and he said, you know, there's teams that they're lucky to have one or two guys out there covering practice, and there's probably a couple women and maybe like 8 or 10 guys out there. That's a lot of the media pool for East Carolina to be Greenville, North Carolina, is way bigger than what you would expect, and so.
Well, I actually think that helps it, Dave. I think because, you know, Greenville's unique as in Greenville New Bern market is a small market, but we're outside of the Raleigh market. We have our own market. We have our own TV stations, our own radio stations, and East Carolina's the only game in town. So because of being removed from the Raleigh media market, where we do have our own radio and TV stations and now new media, East Carolina's the show. I mean, so it kind of makes sense. I get what you're saying. We think somewhere like Temple, with Philadelphia, for example, being a huge media market, would have tons of media coverage.
Yeah.
But, you know, they also got to cover Villanova. They got to cover
a whole bunch of colleges. Yeah.
Yeah, they got to cover the Eagles. They got to cover the 76ers. They got to cover the Phillies.
Flyers.
Yeah, the Flyers. So, I mean, it's two different ways to look at it, but we do have a lot of coverage. And
speaking of
that,
Brian Bailey from 9 on Your Side Sports, Touchdown Friday host. We had a chance to. He and I have been trying to. Kyle knows that for a year now. He's wanted to come on the podcast. I wanted to have it on our schedules. Just couldn't work out. We finally were able to literally sit down this afternoon, right after practice, and let's go to that interview with Brian Bailey right now.
Well, one of my dear friends in radio and television, obviously local in Eastern North Carolina, is someone who I've been wanting on the podcast for a long time. 9 on Your Side sports anchor, Mr. Brian Bailey. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Very happy to have you on. We've been like herding cats. I know we've had trouble with our schedules, but you've known me for a long time, and you put up with me for, it's hard to believe, man, 23 years.
That's unbelievable. It'll be 35 years for me, October. I think my start date was October 4th or October 9th. I can't remember, but it'll be 35 years coming up. So
I know.
Quick time.
I was a teenager when I started watching you on there. And but, yeah, going back to that, I wanted to ask you about how did you I know you talk about what many different schools. How did you get the job at Channel 9? I've never asked you that question, so I'll start there.
Well, I interned at Wavy, W-A-V-Y, in Portsmouth, Virginia, and the guys that were there were Bruce Rader was the sports director, and John Castleberry was his assistant. And Castleberry had been the sports director at WITN and had taken the job as the number 2 guy at Wavy, kind of bump in salary, bigger market. So he had done that. Well, his news director was Roy Hardy, the late Roy Hardy, who's an icon as far as news directors go in Eastern North Carolina. So Roy Hardy had taken the job at WNCT from ITN, so he was at NCT, and so I got Castleberry to give him a call and say, hey, look, he's got this guy, he likes sports, he wants to do sports, doesn't want to do news, but he'll do anything to get started. So they called him up, he had me down, I'll never forget, he was talking to me about the job, and And he said, you'll do sports on the week on Saturdays. We didn't have a Sunday newscast. So we did sports on Saturday, and during the week you'll do news and sports both, and we'll pay you $8.9. And I thought to myself, okay, $8.90 an hour is not a lot, but I think I can make it. And well, then I got home and I called him back, and he said, no, it's $8,900 per year, which is about $4.10.
Wow.
Per year. So it wasn't a lot of money for sure. But I asked my dad. My dad said his quote was, "Did you tell him you had a degree?" I said, I told him, but I figured I had to get my foot in the door somehow, so I did, and I never looked back. Really loved it.
One of my favorite stories is the blooper. In fact, on the Best Damn Sports Show, when they had you, it's one of the top 50 sports bloopers of all time with the cannon. Can you talk about that? I love that story.
Yeah, that was in the 1991 Dream season. Pirates were playing Pittsburgh at Dowdy Ficklin Stadium. I'm not even sure it was Dowdy Ficklin at the time. It may have just been Ficklin Stadium, but it was there in that end zone that's toward the Murphy Center. And they just started with the cannon that season, I think. I know I wasn't used to the cannon. And so we were doing a stand-up in the end zone. And a lot of people think it was live. It really wasn't live, but we were doing a stand-up. And as soon as I said the Pirates score in the final minute, they go for 2 and make it. And they beat the Panthers at Ficklin Stadium today. And as soon as I said the word today, the cannon went off. And it scared the crap out of me. And so I cursed, a blue streak. And we all laughed about it. And then the way it got circulated is there was a syndicated program called Best Sports Bloopers, and they did it every week, and they would call all the stations around the country for your best sports bloopers. So we sent them about 15 of them. And so they got a hold of that one, and that one got legs and got seen somewhere else. It got put on a videotape one year. They were selling it for Christmas, and they put that out, and so it got a great reputation. Then I got a call one day, and they said, this is Fox Sports from Los Angeles. I thought somebody was just joking with me, Brian Meador or somebody like that. And they said, we want to make your video, your blooper, one of our top 50. And I said, well, what do we get out of that? And he goes, oh, you get nothing, but it's still an honor. So they did. I think we were 42 or 43. Yeah. I can't remember which one it was. But
at least you won number 1, right?
Nah, it wasn't number 1, but it was cool. I tell people all the time we're going to put it on my tombstone, and we're going to put a little video monitor. So when you come up to pay your final respects, you hit a button, and I'm going to do the blooper for the cannon.
Well, let's talk about good things over the years. One question, when they have news reporters and they talk about this reporter has covered 9 presidents, I wanted to ask you, and we'll put you on the spot here. What is your favorite? I won't ask you the worst coach you've ever had to deal with. What is your favorite coach to deal with as far as your career here in Greenville?
It's hard to say really because they were all so different. We've been blessed that of all the coaches we've had, we've never had anybody that was just an absolute jerk or anything. All of them had their moments. I love Skip Holtz, but he got mad at me one year. We were in Hawaii, and Dwayne Harris was taking some snaps at quarterback from the shotgun and running the ball some. Well, there were some Boise State reporters at practice that day. After practice, we're doing the interviews, and I said, Skip, you had Dwayne back there playing a little quarterback. We're going to see a little bit of that. And he kind of looked at me, and then he didn't say a whole lot about it. Then after it was over, he goes, why would you say that with all those Boise reporters? I said, Coach, you did it in 2 other games this year. It's not like they hadn't seen it. And we laughed about it later on. But Steve Logan was always better after a loss than he was a win. Most coaches are the opposite.
Right.
But Steve Logan was always, after a loss, he was, talking about the kids, how hard they worked, how the team tries too. But after a win, sometimes he would go off on tangents when you ask him a question. But most of the time, everybody's been really, really easy to work with. Coach Ruff was so easy; he'd do anything in the world for you. Most of the coaches that we've had here, if I had an emergency or something going on and I called them, I know they would come to the rescue. So it's been a really good run.
How about the coaches show? Is that something that's been easy to do over the years?
Yeah, and we missed out on it for a while there. I think we had it in the 90s, and then in the 2000s, ITN took over as the official station, and they really were more programmed to do like the live broadcast. We really weren't ready for that at our place. And then whenever the American took it over, we were able to get back in because there wasn't that much involved as far as that goes. I've always enjoyed working with the coaches' shows because you get a chance. Donnie Kirkpatrick, ladies and gentlemen, he's getting healthier by the minute. Look at him; he's about ready to sprint on that leg. I hear you. But
you never know who's going to be on the podcast.
Well, that's the other thing about not only the head coaches but the assistant coaches through the years. I mean, it's just unbelievable that all the assistants we've had. Donnie's just great. He's been on my radio show so many times through the years. Dale Steele, Steve Shankweiler. I wrote about that. I write for Bonesville.net, and I wrote a column about a week and a half ago. I said how comforting it is just to come out and see those guys. And every time they've been at East Carolina, the Pirates have won.
Right.
So they're back. So the Pirates are going to win again, no doubt.
that was a nice segue in our business. I was going to ask you about that very feeling. I know you've been covering this a long time, and I started back last year. There's a different mood, even with the media. We seem to be a lot looser this year, knowing that things are not as tense around here, because you just felt like the shoe was going to fall any day now that Coach Montgomery was going to get fired last year when I started covering the team and coming to practice with you. And this year it seems to be the mood of even the media is better this year.
Well, I think what you saw there is that there was so much negativity, not only in the football program, but in the athletic department. And there was so much, the whole thing. And I like Jeff Comfer as a person. I really got along with him well for the most part, and he was a friend of mine. But when things start going south and everybody's in a bad mood and everybody looks for somebody else to blame and everybody looks for something else to complain about, and it was really a down time for a couple of years there. I think when Dave Hart got hired as a special assistant to do the deep dive into the finances, and everything's not fixed yet, but I think they're on their way. Winning some football games will certainly help. Getting this town loves Saturdays in Greenville and Pirate football, and if they can just get back into that mode where they love it again, I think we'll be in good shape.
One of my favorite lines I heard is the very fact that you said, I heard you say talking about how if the Pirates don't win, you're not going to get a loan for that car on Monday, something like that.
Yeah, I always said if you really want to borrow money for a house, go after a win over State or Carolina, because they're giving money away. But and that's not really the truth. But it's like the whole town's in a better mood, and everybody, there's so much negativity in the world as it is. But when this town gets behind its football team and they win games, that's just really something special to it. It's really a different deal. And and in East Carolina, we're poked in the, we're in the eastern part of the state. We're not a Power 5 school. Mike Oresco and I agree with the Power 6, narrative, trying to get to that level. You're better than anybody else in the group of 5 for sure. But it's just a matter of you got to keep working hard, and that's what East Carolina has always done. And the folks at State and Carolina, sometimes they snub their noses sometimes at East Carolina, but East Carolina comes out fighting. We got fighters out there, man. Right. We got fighters out there.
Players come by as we're talking here right after practice. As far as on your show, Mike Oresco on the show, and there was a reporter from the East Carolinian talking about us going out of the American. It was something about that. I don't know the whole story, but more about it. I mean, is that crazy or what? Why would we leave the American?
Well, I think it was just one of the things in this examination, for lack of a better word, that somebody did about the finances. Would it be cheaper to play in another league? But you can't do that. I mean, that was just. And Oresco said it. Oresco said, I was scratching my head about that one. I mean, East Carolina. This is as close as East Carolina has been to the Power 5 than they've ever been. And we don't know what the future holds. We don't know if someday maybe it is a Power 6. We just don't know. But right now, this is the best situation East Carolina. But East Carolina's got to win some games. I went back and looked, and in the first year the Pirates were 5-3 in the league. The second year they were 3-5, and they haven't been that good since then. You got to win some games.
In fact, I think Ronnie Woodward, our friend at the Daily Reflector, I think we're 10th out of 12th in the league as far as number of wins in the conference.
And that's not Pirate football. I mean, we've got to go out and maybe not dominate the league, but you got to win some games. And I had a chance to go to Orlando last year, the day of the state game. I had committed to the American Athletic Conference. The girl who does all of their stuff for digital, Haley Alton, is a soccer player from here. Right. She was an intern of mine, great friend of mine. Beautiful girl, and they had discussed they needed somebody to help her out with the pregame and postgame for the championship game. They do a special. They have a set up and everything. So she asked me to help out. It was great. You get paid to go down. You got all your expenses paid. We had a blast. I had a blast down. It was one of the neatest things I've ever done. And they've asked me to come back this year, so I get a chance to go. And I'd really love to have Greenville hosting it. And that would be cool. Yeah. And maybe not this year, but maybe down the line. But the American is it's a neat conference. I mean, there's Memphis, Houston, there's some really good schools. And what Mike Oresco said the other night on my radio show is the fact that some of the schools that are in this conference used to be a part of the BCS. That they've had past like that. South Florida. That's why Skip Holtz left for South Florida. So I mean, we've got teams that have that experience, and we have teams that can do that. And you just got to keep on winning.
And not only East Carolina, but also the American, we have to win the big non-conference games as well.
Right, yeah. Those non-conference games are key. I don't know if East Carolina has enough this year to beat NC State, but they've got to be able to go in and battle the likes of NC State or North Carolina. And that's one of the reasons I never understood why Ruff got fired in the first place, because here's a guy who just manhandled State. And what more do you want? I thought they were going to build a big old a statue of Ruff for beating all the ACC schools. He had to run 6 in a row, something like that. But I didn't understand that aspect of it. But I tell you, we have a great guy here in Mike Houston. I mean, he understands. And talking to some of the assistant coaches, they're worried that this program has been soft for too long, and they're trying to harden them up, and they spend every day trying to get them harder and harder. And I think we'll see some more wins this year.
Do you think we're going bowling?
I think there's a chance, because I think if the Pirates go 6-6, which is doable, I think they'll get a waiver because of the controversy with Virginia Tech and everything that went on with that. So I think 6-6 is a possibility, and if they do go 6-6, I think they have a chance to go to a bowl.
Not only that, but the game that's a bellwether game. Every coach would not like me saying, but the Temple game on the Thursday night, we owe them. And if we could win that game, then we need to steal 1 or 2 of those games in October to have a chance to go into a bowl, I think.
Yeah, I think you look at the schedule, and it's a favorable schedule. You'll be favored to beat Gardner-Webb, favored to beat William & Mary, probably favored to beat Old Dominion on the road. Even though Old Dominion's picked like 7th in their division in Conference USA, so I don't think they have a whole lot coming back as far as that goes. So that's 3 wins right there. If you get one that's State or Navy, there's your 4th or your 5th. I mean, you've got a chance to win some games, and like you said, the Thursday night games here are a hard sell because kids have to go to school the next day, and there's so much. But I love the Thursday night games. I think there's nothing like you put your IFB in your ear and you get in front of the camera, and the teams are warming up behind you, and you're getting set for the big game. I just think that's a lot of fun. I love the Thursday night games.
Speaking of games over the years, before we let you go, and I had another question too. What games that really stick out in your mind? There's been so many great games over the years in Pirate football. Are there ones that really pop off?
The ones that pop up are the ones people ask about all the time. One's the Cannon game, because that game at Pittsburgh was such a phenomenal game, and the place was going nuts, and that was a great season. The Syracuse game that year when East Carolina won, Jeff Blake scrambled around and scored on that long run. I mean, it's funny. I look at Jeff Blake on Facebook now, and he's got more gray hair than I do. But I still think of him as a young athlete. Some of the other games that stand out, the Peach Bowl that year, obviously beating NC State. In the regular season, there's just so many that pop into your head. Unfortunately, the UCF game when we lost on the Hail Mary, that was bad. The Tulsa game when the Pirates won on the Hail Mary, I'll never forget. That was before Coach Ruff had his surgery, and they won the game on that Sunday. That was a Sunday game.
I remember Labor Day.
And I remember we were getting ready to go live at 6:20. It was like 6:15. We were standing in the end zone, getting ready to run out, put the camera on the tripod, and deliver the news that the Pirates had lost. And then they throw the Hail Mary, and they catch, and they win. So we're running, and we're trying. What we ended up doing is we ended up queuing up the video of the Hail Mary and just hitting play live on the air and showing it there. But I remember the next day we were over here doing something, and I walked up to Coach Ruff's office, and I said, "Coach," this is before he had his surgery and lost his weight. I said, "Congratulations." I want to say, "Hey," and I remember he said, "B, come on in here, have a seat, have some cake." I got a lot of cake today for that win. I said, "Coach, I don't need any cake." But we laughed about it, and it was fun. But just so many games stand out, and just being on the field, and in the last 4 or 5 years, I've had a chance to do interviews on the field with some of the legends, and it runs on the big screen, and that's a lot of fun for me. It's funny because all of a sudden I've selfishly thought of myself as being part of the game day experience because I love doing it so much, and I think we get a lot of times I'll introduce the player, talk to them, and I'll say, "How about a big hand?" Fans give them a big hand. They're so appreciative of what those players have done through the years. So it's a lot of fun.
Before we let you go, how do you pronounce your high school football show? So Touchdown Friday, right?
Yeah. We worked on a thing with that. Touchdown Friday is the name of it. But I always Touchdown Friday, and there's nothing like that, man. That's a labor of love, but it's so enjoyable when you go through, and then you have guys that play at East Carolina that will come to you later on and say, "Man, I used to watch you on Friday night, man, with high school football." And I have a lot of respect for Brian North and Billy Weaver because I know what they go through too. We all go through the same thing. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes on. News departments have hurricanes that they have to prepare for every once in a while, or election night. Mm-hmm. But usually it's every day, this report, that report. For Touchdown Friday, it's every Friday night, and you're sending crews all over the place. You're sending people that really don't know what in the world they're doing, but they're going to do the best for you because I know if they come back and they screwed up too bad, I'm going to yell at them. But it's a labor of love, and we start a week from Friday.
I was getting ready to say the 23rd, right?
Yeah, August 23rd, the season debut, and we go at 11:05, and I think, and I don't want to put words in 7 or 12's mouths, but I think they kind of look the other way and don't realize how big that is for us because that 10-minute window is big. Yeah. Trying to get everything together, so we're on the air at 11. We're the only one in the state on the air at 11:05. Wow. And that's a lot of the stations go at 11:35, which is a big advantage because you can get all your stuff done. 11:05. It's tight. I get a little nervous.
And I've heard some horror stories of people shooting like games in a car, all kinds of stuff that you've had to deal with. I can't imagine what you have to go through thinking that you've got this big game, maybe it's a playoff game, and it's raining and the person chooses to be in a car. Or I've heard some horror stories behind.
Sometimes we don't want to get the cameras wet, so sometimes they have to do that or go out in the press box. And then we're fighting news. One time at Rose High School, like somebody called in and said there was a big fight in the parking lot. And so the news people said, okay, send him over there for the fight. And I said, like hell, it's the fourth quarter and it's tied. Who cares about a fight? Somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. But you keep that camera. And we had Alan Hoffman and I went at it that night. But guess what? We got that winning touchdown, didn't we? Right. And who cared about the fight?
That's right. Brian, we want to have you back on soon. I know that we kept you this long. And thank you so much for coming on with us. Look forward to covering the Pirates with you. Thank you for all your generosity over the years and not killing me back in '96 when I first started.
No, I didn't think about it. No,
Thanks,
anytime you need me, it's a busy lifestyle this time of year. But anytime you need me, give me a call. I'd love to.
Thanks, man.
All right, thank
Appreciate
you.
Thank you very much, Double B. Of course, you can hear his show every Monday night on Pirate Radio. One of my favorite times of the year is to be able to hear the Brian Bailey show on Monday nights. I'm a huge fan, and I've actually been a Brian Bailey fan before I met Brian Bailey. I've been listening to his show or watching him for many years. I was a teenager, like I talked about, or in college when I during that time period when I really became a huge fan of him. And what's great is when you meet a guy like Brian Bailey, he's always been very, very good to me. And sometimes the members of the media, that's not always the case. But Brian is such a legend. And the late, great Dave Shepard that was supposed to be the first to be a co-host, and he's still a part of our team. He's looking down on us from heaven. He always used to brag about Brian. He's from Chicago and said, you know what I love about Brian Bailey? He's everywhere. He's everywhere that there's an event. He's always doing something live. It's the Wood Ducks. It's, East Carolina. It's Little League. He's everywhere. And I've always admired and respect that about him. He's been, like you said, he's starting this year, 35 years, Kyle. Hard to believe, 35 years with Double B, but appreciate him very much coming on. And he loves Mike Houston. He loves what he sees this year, and I think he's right. He says he feels like the Pirates have a good chance to go 6-6, and maybe with the controversy, maybe we can get some kind of waiver. If we don't, then hey, it's a lot better than 3-9, right? We know it's a step in the right. If they go 6-6 this year, that's like a normal Pirate year of 9 or 10 wins.
Well, the waiver, if we get the waiver, if we go 6-6 and we get the waiver where we're bowl eligible with 2 FCS wins, great. Also, there's the chance it's happened once in recent history where you don't have enough 6-6 bowl teams or better, where then 5 and 7 teams are eligible in the space of APR. I do believe a 6-6 team with 2 FCS wins trumps any 5 and 7 team. I'm almost positive that's the rule. So then that would make us bowl eligible. So there's 2 different ways it could happen at 6-6, but it's still slim chance.
I tell you what,
if we get there, I'm going to just enjoy being 6-6. If we're able to go to a bowl, great. If not, then it is what it is. It will not hurt my feelings. I mean, I want to go to a bowl very badly, but it shows. My thing is like you were talking about, the days of being blown out every single game where we get embarrassed, like the game is over in the first quarter. Those days for the Pirates are over. Thank God. Yeah,
we're going to see real Pirate football again.
I want to shift gears a little bit away from football, believe it or not.
Okay.
Basketball schedule came out non-conference yesterday. I understand we have issues where we haven't won enough games. Our strength of schedule is low. It would be nice if somehow we could get a better non-conference schedule. There are some highlights in it. Liberty, which doesn't sound like much, but they were a good team last year, tournament team.
I think that's their RPI. Their net now is 53.
Yeah, so that's a solid opponent.
Yeah.
We potentially play them twice. Once during the season, then once again in the Bahamas, depending on who wins and loses. Also have the potential to play George Washington out of the Atlantic 10 in the Bahamas, so that would help our schedule if the brackets play out in terms of wins and losses.
And that's
we'll
the sidebar. That's the that's the alma mater of Joe Dooley, who graduated in '88 from there, from GW.
Yeah. So
he
could end up playing GW in the Bahamas. Other highlights of the schedule would be Charlotte, in Greenville. We play at JMU,
at App State, right?
App State and Boone.
I don't think Bubba will be that game. I'm
joking. Nah, he'll be there. Living pretty close. Well, somewhat pretty close to Boone. Closer to Boone than he is Greenville.
That's true.
So, overall, the schedule's still disappointing to me, but I understand it. And, if we got a young team, but a talented team this year,
right.
And if we can post a winning season, maybe next year's schedule will be more intriguing.
I think what it comes down to is that saying, it is what it is, Terry Gallagher's favorite saying. We've got to win games. Once we start winning games, that'll take care of itself for like literally 18, 20 wins in that range. When you're only winning the last 2 years, we've only won 10 games. So that's why the net is bad. I'll tell you what Dooley's done. Dooley has taken, with all the problems with the grades and the people leaving and all that, man, he took a mess and just flipped it around. He inherited that. Plus, when you look at the transformation of 11 guys, and you have a top recruiting class coming in, I really believe that you look at this is a work in progress. Speaking of people that need to be patient, I mean, my God, we don't have a basketball tradition in East Carolina, and I'm a basketball fan, and I want it more than anything to see the basketball program succeed. What I'm saying is, you're going to have to give Dooley at least 4 years before you can really start critiquing and on everything. And I think that he's facing, like, if, for example, we can't Mike Oresco being a power. Speaking of power league, we were talking about this earlier with football. We can't go to North Carolina now and or Duke and get a bye game where we get money for the program to play in November against a great NC State or Carolina, Duke, ACC opponent, where the people would be a brand name, where we could go there, that sort of thing. We can't do that anymore. Then you take on top of that for the fact that our net is so bad. What was it, 251, I think Bubba said last night we were talking. So that's the thing. I agree with you 1,000%. It's just going to situation where the only way that we get better, like you said, we're going to win more games, and we're going to have to double the win total before we start to see that net. I want to say RPI so bad. I hate they changed that.
Well, you should probably still use it, because I don't think a lot of people are going to know what you mean when you say net.
Yeah, like cutting down the nets.
Yeah, that's what used to be the RPI.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know about you. I'm actually on vacation for the next 5 days. It's making me think about going on a cruise. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we should talk about that with Dana from Global Travels.
Yeah, let's go now to Dana Schrenk. She and I and Bubba sat down a couple of days ago, and we talked about the cruise, and you're going to find out more information about the cruise, and let's go to that right now. We're very excited to have our next guest, Bubba. I tell you what, I've known her for a long time, at least a decade or more, and she's brought a lot of joy to my family because she's our travel agent and close friend, Dana Schrenk. Dana, thank you so much for coming on the Sports Objective.
Thank you so much for having me, David. And Bubba, I'm so excited to be here.
Hey, Bubba, you can tell her we've been promoting the cruise hard and promoting Dana very hard over the last month or so. We wanted to have Dana, the real person, on now to talk about. We're so excited about this. This is her name of the cruise, the Sports Objective Pirate Cruise, and so we wanted to have you on to talk about that and give the itinerary and tell people what they get for their money.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm so excited to talk about this cruise. So if you haven't written the date down already, the Sports Objective Pirate Cruise will be July 16th, 2020, out of Charleston, South Carolina. And so the itinerary is as follows. The ship will depart Charleston, South Carolina at 4 p.m. on Thursday, July 16th. On Friday, the July 17th will be a day at sea, and in a few minutes I'll tell you fun things that you'll be able to do on the ship. Saturday, July 18th, you will be in Nassau in the Bahamas. It's a beautiful part of the Bahamas, and you'll be there from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then Sunday, July 19th is another fun day at sea, and then back to Charleston and back to the real world Monday, July 20th at 8 a.m.
Yeah, just the thought of that, oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about that. When you're on the cruise, that's like the most depressing thing. Maybe for some people they're happy to get off the boat, but I love the boat so much, and so do my kids. So we all do, my family. We love it, and you know that personally, Dana. So
yes.
The kids are going to
David comes from a cruising family.
Yeah, we're cruisers, for sure. And I know, Bubba's been on a cruise. Kyle is actually working right now, so he can't join us, but he's never been on a cruise. So I know, Bubba, you had a question for Dana?
Yeah, I do. Like Dave said, the only cruise I've been on was on my honeymoon. My wife and I went to the Western Caribbean. It was a Carnival cruise. We had a good time. It was, I think it was 7 days, 6 nights. We went 4 different ports, but for those like myself who haven't been on many cruises, or in Kyle's case, never have been on a cruise, tell folks some of the things to expect, and then specifically in Nassau, I know our time is limited with only 8 hours or so, but what are some of the things that you should really try to do in those 8 hours in Nassau?
Okay, absolutely. So in Nassau, there are all sorts of things you can do. If you are a mega gambler, you're going to want to make your way to the Atlantis Resort Casino, where you can have some fun that day gambling. Also, for families, Atlantis is a great place to visit, not for the casino, but they have an aquatic park there. So they have tons of water slides, and they have an aquarium, and they have beautiful pools and the beach, and so Atlantis is a great option for people. Otherwise, there are tons of different beach excursions you can do there. There's snorkeling, there are boat rides, there are like party boats with rum punch if you want to do that. If you want to snorkel, Nassau is a great opportunity to do that, but Nassau is a great chance to get on the water, and it's like the crystal clear, blue Caribbean water that you imagine that it is. Like, it's beautiful.
It absolutely is. Atlantis is awesome. Great place. And, Dana, it's great, too. I want to mention to folks that if you're like me and sometimes you decide that maybe what you like to do, you can walk around. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of things you can, and walking distance from the port that you can go, and you don't even have to do an excursion. You can just do an excursion like shopping on your own.
Yes, you can also do something on your own. You can go shopping. Like, you can walk right, like David said, right from the port into downtown Nassau, and there are a lot of shops and restaurants there that you can absolutely explore on your own. Yep.
Dana, a question I have for you, kind of piggybacking off that, the cruise that we went on, one of the ports was Belize, and that was one of the places we did not do an excursion, and we had been briefed, as far as be careful where you may venture away from the port and that sort of thing. So there, we just went, I'd say no more than a quarter of a mile, half a mile from the port, and didn't necessarily feel safe. I'll put it that way. How does Nassau compare to that, since I've never been there?
Nassau is pretty safe. I have not ever had anyone have a problem in Nassau. And I also do I don't always do excursions myself in Nassau. I've taken cabs by myself or with my girlfriends, to a beach somewhere in Nassau, and I've never felt unsafe.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think Nassau is probably the safest place I've ever been. To me, they've all been safe, but I feel like I felt very relaxed in Nassau. Also, folks, I want to remind you, too, maybe Dana people or folks, they decide that, you know what, I want to be on the ship the whole time. You don't have to leave the ship just because it's at port. They have some activities, not as many, but you still can stay on the ship the whole entire cruise.
Yes. So the cruise is sort of a destination in itself. I like to describe, for those that haven't cruised before, I sort of like to describe cruising like a Vegas hotel at sea. Like, there's like anything you can ever imagine on these cruise ships. There's a water park on the cruise ship. They have like a ropes course on this particular, so the ship that this cruise will be on is called the Carnival Sunshine.
Right.
And on the Sunshine, there's a ropes course. Like I said, there's a water park. There's a sports square where kids or adults can play different activities. There are tons of bars in the evenings. There's the comedy club. There's the Hasbro game show, which is for families. There's a spa. There's a Red Frog pub. There's lip sync battles. Like literally anything you can think of, they have it on the ship. So it's awesome.
And I want to shoot basketball with Bubba. They have on that ship. Don't they have the basketball court on the top or no on the Sunshine?
Yes, there is a basketball court.
So Bubba and I can shoot hoops, and I guess Kyle can watch or do something else. Okay. So Bubba
he
and I
can play mini golf.
Yeah, right beside us. Yeah, that's right. For sure. Yeah.
There's also volleyball on the cruise as well. There's a volleyball court on the cruise ship.
Yeah, there's so much to do, and the great thing about it, I'll tell you another thing, Dana, the reason I like cruises is that there's no, I know you're a travel agent, there's obviously great places going around America, but I'll tell you what, you can go to the beach, for example, and spend way more money than you can on this cruise. I'm telling you folks, the great thing about the cruise is you pay for stuff up front, and the great thing is included, a lot of stuff is already included, and then there might be, I tell people if you, where they get you, or if you want to spend extra, is like they have a soda or alcohol package. They have the photo. Some people spend a lot of money on photographs, so the pictures that maybe you don't want to do that, or the gambling or something like that. But for the most part, the great thing about it, you can spend a decent amount of money, not a lot of money, and you get a lot of bang for your buck.
You do, absolutely. So another thing, so for people that have not cruised and don't really know how cruising works, so in your cruise fare, you're paying for your accommodations and your onboard entertainment and meals. So your breakfast, lunch, and dinner is included. There are a few specialty restaurants on this particular ship that are not included. There's like a nominal like $20 or $25 per person upcharge to eat at those restaurants, but you don't have to. All of your meals are, like at the main dining rooms, are included, and the food will be very good. And then also all of the things I mentioned, like the mini golf, volleyball, water work, the sky course, the ropes course, all of that is included. The only things on board that will not be included are the spa or your alcohol.
Right, and of course, if you go gambling or something like that, you're going to pay for that. But it's definitely worth it. And I was going to tell you, folks, another thing, Dana, that I learned, the first two cruises I went on, I gained 6 pounds. So whatever you do, eat at least a whole bunch of salads for like 2 weeks before you go on the cruise. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea. Start your diet now.
Exactly.
By next July, you're ready.
Now, Dave, it's funny you say that. The cruise we went on left out of Tampa, it was pretty funny. We were just so wiped out from everything that we had going on with the wedding and so forth that we got on the ship right there around 4:30, 5 o'clock. Next thing we knew, we woke up and it was like midnight, and so we had slept right through dinner, and we went and got lemonade and pizza.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, there's pizza. There's the one thing I tell you, folks, if you like pizza, I love it. And if you love not only pizza, but you love ice cream, you can get it 24 hours a day, right, Dana?
Yes. There are ice cream machines, and you can get ice cream 24 hours a day on the cruise, and it's the best. I remember on my first Carnival cruise, I had ice cream every afternoon without fail. I probably also gained that 6 pounds David was talking about.
Hey, I swear to you, both the first. Now it's to the point where I'm like, nah, I can't eat all that pizza and all that now. They're like the novelty as far as like knowing that, you don't, just because they have a whole bunch of food at the Mexican buffet doesn't mean that you have to do that. So anyway, I want to talk about
one other thing I want to say about Carnival is they also include room service.
Oh, yes.
That's included. Yes.
Room and service is fantastic.
24-hour room service included.
The only time I've ever had room service in my life is on the cruise, a few times, and it's because I'm cheap. I'm about as cheap as Bubba on stuff like that.
No, I'm not.
I can speak for myself. I'm just teasing you, Bubba. But
I know.
How about let's talk about what do people have to do to get involved and get a part of the Sports Objective Pirate Cruise?
Okay, so if people want to come on the cruise, they can email me at Dana, D-A-N-A, at Dana's, D-A-N-A-S, danasglobaltravel.com. Dana at danasglobaltravel.com, or they can call me at 919-830-4161. It's a $25 per person deposit due, as soon as possible to hold your spot, since I capped out the number of rooms that we reserved. So
like 20 cabins, right?
Yes, and then we can, if we fill those 20, we can get more, but it will be on an availability basis, so only if they're available. So, but we have 20 held. So that is good. And with the $25 per person, that includes your space in the group. But if you would like your cabin assigned, if you're like, I really want this particular balcony stateroom, or you're like, I want to be next to David and David's booked his stateroom, then you would need to pay your full deposit to have an assigned stateroom, and that deposit amount will be $300.
Is that $300 per person or?
No, $300 total for a double occupancy stateroom. Yep.
Okay. All right, I got you. So we need to, and the best thing I can tell folks is the best thing you do is to get the price down. Is make sure that you have, even if it's a group of buddies and you got a few ladies going or a few guys going, room together, because you get a better deal, right?
Yes, you can fit up to 4 people in a stateroom.
All right. That sounds fantastic, and I know people will. We're looking forward to it, Dana. I tell you what, Bubba, we're trying to, by the way, Bubba's not sure yet. He's on the fence, so can you twist his arm to come?
Oh, and Dave, you got to tell her the whole story. The reason I'm on the fence is because of I'm a teacher and a coach, so that's the reason I'm on the fence, because of not knowing my schedule yet. But odds are, if I'm able to go, we will go.
I will get Dana to call Stacy, your wife, and get her to talk to her. And as soon as she finds out, then I'm sure it'll be a done deal. Well, Dana, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to it. We'll obviously have you back on. Hopefully you won't be a stranger, and very excited about it. It's going to be one of the highlights of 2020. There's a lot of cool stuff that's going to be going on, and we look forward to it. I've got a lot of people at my work and around town and everywhere. When are we going on the cruise? When can we do it? So now we have Dana, and folks, go ahead and give her a call, and let's make Dana so busy she's mad at me. How about that?
Yes, that's a great idea.
Dana, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Bubba. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Tell you what, Kyle, I'm excited. A lot of people are actually starting to go ahead and call Dana right now, 919-830-4161. You can Google Dana and Dana's Global Travel. Just Google that. You can find out more information about her. And she'll tell you all about the Sports Objective Pirate Cruise. Again, folks, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. It's going to be July of next year.
2020.
Yeah, next year. So it's not like you've only got a month to pay for it or anything crazy. We've booked this way in advance. We've set everything up. Dana will take care of you. All you have to do is give her a call. You can email her as well, Google it, and you'll find out more information. We're going to have a lot of people going. We started out with 20 rooms, and I know that we have about, I think with Bubba, if you count Bubba and Kyle, we're close to 10 right now in just a short period of time. So I'm telling you folks, go ahead and get the first 20, and then from there we can actually get more rooms, but we're starting out with 20 rooms. So we're close to half are spoken for now, and we got a lot of Sports Objective fans out there. We're going to do a podcast one day. We're going to also have a private party. Carnival has promised us, so like a mixer, like a chance for you to meet each other, and we may have some former Pirate players they're coming on. We'll talk to them about coming on. We're not announcing
Texas. What am I talking about? We're trying to get Terry Gallagher.
Yeah, he's the start. He's the first.
We're trying. He seems a little scared of the water there. I don't think Terry was scared of anything.
Exactly. He's a maniac, but we love him. He's our guy. But we're excited about that. It's going to be a great time, and I look forward to it, Kyle. You and I are very close, but we don't get a chance because of our schedules. We don't get a chance to, outside of recording, we don't get a chance to hang out. So it'll be great for, and I told Dana in the interview there that I think what we need to do is get Dana to call Stacy and tell her about the cruise, and then it's automatic. If she says she's going, the whole family's going, my family's going, your family. I mean, it's awesome. So,
yeah.
Folks, make sure you do that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Speaking of fun, Kyle, I have to ask you this question. You and I are both fans of Full Ride, Sirius XM. So you're a big, I'm going to throw this at you. You're a big college football fan. And they were debating today on Full Ride about which is the bigger program, which one has a brighter future in Texas, Texas or Texas A&M? What do you think?
Brighter future, short term or long term? I mean, they both got a ton of money.
Well, that's but see, the thing is that but the thing is, with the very fact that yes, they do, but when you look at Rick Newhouse made a great point. There's only been one 10-win season for Texas. You have to go back all the way to Mac Brown before Tom Herman last year. You look at Oklahoma; they have 8 in recent years. You could go on to Stanford. I think has a number. There's a whole bunch of schools that have.
Yeah, but here's the thing. All Texas has to do is pass Oklahoma or every other year. They don't have anybody else to catch. Texas A&M is going to have to deal with Alabama, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, right. LSU. So I'm going to say Texas because they have less. When you only have one to catch, it's a lot easier than having to deal with and catch 4 or 5. So because of that reason, because of Texas only having to deal with Oklahoma, I'll say Texas.
Are you going Texas? Well, the one thing to me is that I agree with you, and for a different reason. I don't know what it is, but Texas A&M has more money. Can you imagine if ECU had the money to Texas or Texas A&M? Oh, my God. They have so much money, and it seems like they don't get enough bang for their buck. Do you think they mentioned this, and this is something that I was too afraid to say. I'll say it on the podcast now. I think there's something, some of these schools that have more money than they know what to do with. There has to be some infighting or something going on for them not to be a top, in other words, a playoff contender every year. When you look at Texas A&M, they don't, they have a lot of, cash just waiting, and people, I don't know, people probably giving other people money. It's just so much cash there that's going in and out of that school.
And Sumlin was doing a good job, and they had Johnny Football,
yep.
and things just kind of got stagnant after Johnny Football, and I don't know. And now they got Jimbo Fisher down there, and Jimbo will get it done in time. He's won a national championship before, but I just think Texas has less to deal with. I think Tom Herman is a solid coach, and I think this year, they had a big year last year, and I think this year will be another big year. But hey, speaking of big years, Dave, whole podcast should have done it at the beginning. We'll do it now. Saturday, we're going to be doing a live podcast and video stream from Media Day at East Carolina.
Harvey Hall at Murphy Center.
Yep. So if you get on Facebook Live on the Sports Objective Facebook page, you'll be able to watch us and see us talking to the players and coaches. We're also going to have it live via podcast if you want to listen. That won't be on all platforms live, but we will have it archived on all platforms. Where will we be live on podcasts?
Well, obviously you can. We'll have a link from Blog Talk, but also Apple Podcasts.
Radio.
I know Apple, and there's a couple others that.
Apple Podcasts, Blog Talk Radio. You'll be able to find a link on Blog Talk Radio. We'll also provide that on our Facebook page, and we'll probably put it over on Steve and Igo's site, Hoist the Colors, and the ECU Football Facebook page. And, of course, again, we should be, in addition to being live on Blog Talk, we are planning to stream live on Facebook. So you'll be able to see it live, listen to it live, and then we will have it archived for you if you don't get to watch it live. But you might as well watch it live as it happens. It should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. It's our first Media Day, Dave. You might have booked the one in the past when you were working for Henry. But
actually, I didn't, unfortunately.
Okay,
but,
so it'll be your first Media Day, too. So looking forward to it. And, and meet the Pirates this Saturday night for everybody else. That'll be a big time to get a chance for. If you haven't met Mike Houston yet, he's very engaging, very nice.
Very approachable.
He's intense but approachable. I'm sure John Gilbert will be out there shaking hands and all that.
Kissing babies.
Yeah, exactly. So meet the Pirates Saturday night after media day, and it's a big weekend. And we're 2 weeks away from Saturday. We're 2 weeks away from Pirate football, and college football. We're a week away. Week 0. There'll be 2 FBS games next weekend with Florida and Miami, and Arizona and Hawaii. So we're a week away from college football.
I can't believe it. It seems like the last few weeks have gone by so fast. You know, we're kind of, oh man, it's July and we've got all this time for football starts, and now here we are knocking at the door this fast. I think that one thing, by the way, another segue, is our 50 Pirates in 50 days, 50 for 50, has been such a big hit. It's helped alleviate the problem for Kyle and Bubba and I, where, and a lot of people in Pirate Nation, where we don't have football. And
I don't know, Dave. I've been pretty bored. I've been trying to find things to occupy my time. I do crazy things like go buy trucks I can't drive.
Hey, yeah. Well, you can give it to me if you like. You know. And by the way, folks,
you just keep making the payment. I'll keep it unless you make the payment.
By the way, I've created a new job. By the way, I haven't told you about this. I'll put you on the spot.
All right.
Kyle is not only is he smart about sports, including East Carolina and college football, but also the one thing that I love about him is that I'm not the biggest fan that he is when it comes to like knowledge about cars and stuff. Him and Mark Arson, he's the guy that came up with the name of the podcast and the logo, by the way, folks. He wants to come on. We'll have to get him on soon. But anyway, the two of y'all have probably the biggest knowledge when it comes. Y'all need to sell cars. He actually works for a car dealership again, but you actually would be good at that. And I've created a new type of job for you. I don't know if this is out there, but Kyle is actually going to be my car agent. And what I mean is when
you want me to agent finding you a car, or
yeah, I think it's a new career. I think you could be. Well, let's create that job for you, because this is something you have your regular job, but I'm talking about people have side hustles all the time. Let's create something where next year
we'll go with people to negotiate car deals.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I got it.
Because I hate it. I absolutely no offense.
I don't. It's stressful. Yeah. It is. You know, I don't want to say the dealership. They were nice. They just had bad sales tactics. A little too pushy. I got so frustrated with the one dealership, I won't even say where it is, that they gave me pure anxiety. They gave me an anxiety attack, a panic attack, just by how pushy they were during the purchase process. And I ended up not buying a truck from them just because of that. So, yeah, it can be stressful. I know you're joking, but I actually kind of enjoy it.
That's what I was saying. I'm creating a career for you.
Okay.
That you can do.
Okay.
And I'll be your first client.
Okay.
And I'll give you a little money, because I hate because I do want
If it's going to be a career, it's going to require a little money.
Well, yeah, I think that there's a little bit of, a little bit of stress and all that. So I go in there with Kyle. I feel more confident, because he's like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. My client, no, we're not doing that. What do you think?
You know,
I'm starting a career from you. One day you're going to thank me, because
all
these people.
Right. So just email the Sports Objective if you want me to go. If you want Kyle from LaGrange to go help you negotiate a deal on your next automobile, just email the Sports Objective and Kyle from LaGrange Automobile Car Buying Services. And
the sportsobj@gmail.com.
That's right. You mentioned me being knowledgeable about vehicles. Be clear, I'm not knowledgeable about mechanics. I can't fix a damn thing.
No. I'm talking about
just knowing cars, the value
prices,
of cars,
the loans.
I like
good
vehicles.
Deal, bad deal.
I like trucks. I like cars. I don't know why, but I do. But yeah, sure, Dave. Right. Sounds like a plan.
All right, we'll do that, and that'll be your side hustle. And certainly, if the career between the podcast and that, who knows how much you'll be making. Maybe
I can quit printing shirts one day. Hey, how about that?
Exactly. For sure. By the way, folks, I want to thank all of you again for making 50 Pirates in 50 days huge. That's been all, like the president would say, huge. It's really big. And we appreciate that very much. We're looking forward to a lot of coverage this year. A lot of great things happening. We told you about the cruise coming up next year. We've got a lot of stuff that's happening. We've had the most listens. We've had, oh my gosh, just exploding this month. I can't imagine what football season is going to be like, but it's all because of you. So we thank you. And by the way, if you've never done this, please give us a 5-star review. We have a lot of people that tell us how much they love it. It helps out our podcast. We need 5-star reviews. So do that for us. Plus, I know, Kyle, the great thing about our podcast, and this is something I worked very hard, as you know, for a couple months before we started it, distribution. We're everywhere. If you love Apple, if you love Google Podcasts, we're one of your favorites.
Yeah, wherever you're listening now, obviously we're
Spotify.
there, but we're available everywhere. The TuneIn app.
Stitcher.
I mean, you name it, we're there. Our distribution is fantastic, and that's a good thing. And like I say, it's one thing if you're sitting there and you're a podcast and you're available on Apple Podcast and that's it. I mean, and that's fine. But if there's a podcast out there and we're not on it, tell us about it and we'll get on it.
That's what we do. I had a friend that told me about Himalaya. I'd never heard of it, and I submitted a form and boom, we're there. So thank you so much, people, for everything, and very excited, my friend, about Pirate Sports, period. Thank you, John Gilbert. Thank you, Ryan Robinson. Thank you, everybody, Philip Wood, everybody that's in the Ward building. You guys are awesome. We appreciate you very much. And I don't know where in the world Bubba is. We miss you, Bubba. So he's listening to this right now. Where are you? We miss you very much. Kyle, man, I know it's late. Thank you so much for all your support, all your help for the podcast. You've been with me since literally the first week of the podcast. And I want to thank you publicly for your hard work. And it's hard to believe that you came on with the buyout of Comfer, and you stayed with me. So I appreciate that very much.
I hope it continues to be fun. And like you said, it all started when Comfer got bought out. And,
March of 2018.
Yeah, that's right. And we did the emergency podcast to talk about that. I joined you. And with you, at IHOP in Greenville. That's right. And been with you ever since. And we'll keep rolling.
All right, let's do it. All right, Bubba, wherever you are, we miss you, man. Love you. Kyle, thank you. Until next time, I'm Dave Richmond. Thanks for listening to the Sports Objective Podcast.
You've been listening to the Sports Objective Podcast. Join us next time as the guys will be objective, and the objective is sports.